The playoffs are supposed to be about greatness rising to the surface, about the best players battling through fatigue, pain, and pressure to show the world what basketball at the highest level really looks like. But for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, their semifinal battle against the Las Vegas Aces has been anything but pure basketball. It's been a war. One fought not only against a reigning dynasty, but against a whistle that seems determined to keep them on the ground. Clark herself admitted it. "It feels like I've been on the ground more this series than the entire season." And she wasn't exaggerating. Every game has felt like a demolition derby disguised as playoff basketball. Every cut through the lane, every screen, every rebound ends with someone sprawled on the hardwood. The message from Las Vegas has been clear. You're not just going to have to beat us, you're going to have to survive us. Game 1 proved the Fever could do exactly that. Walking into the fortress, the house of the two-time defending champions, Indiana didn't flinch. They didn't just win. They humiliated the Aces. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a masterpiece, 34 points in a performance that had fans comparing her to the coldest scorers in the league. She attacked in waves, step-back threes, fearless drives, quick pull-ups. Every bucket felt like a punch to the Aces' reputation. Breanna Stewart might have been watching from afar, but in that moment, it was Mitchell, not A'ja Wilson, who looked like the MVP. And then there was Wilson herself. On the night she was celebrated as the best player in the world, she looked ordinary, forced into a nightmare shooting line. 6 for 22, hounded, harassed, and denied rhythm by Indiana's swarming defense. Angel Reese comparisons flooded social media as Wilson clanked shot after shot. Fans and analysts alike declared the torch had been stolen. The Fever weren't here just to participate. They came to dethrone. That 16-point beatdown wasn't just a win. It was a message to the entire league. But the Aces weren't going to just accept that kind of humiliation. Game 2 wasn't about basketball. It was about sending a message back. From the very first possessions, it was elbows, forearms, and moving screens masquerading as playoff intensity. By the time the dust settled, the box score told a story that every fan watching already knew. 41 fouls called, 16 of them in a single quarter. The game was chopped into fragments. Rhythm was impossible. The Fever's free-flowing style, run, pass, cut, shoot, was suffocated under endless whistles. And somehow, through all of that chaos, the headlines celebrated A'ja Wilson again. 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 steals, 2 blocks. It looked like dominance on paper, but those who watched knew the truth. It wasn't skill that fueled her stat line. It was brute force. It was whistles. It was collisions that went uncalled when Indiana tried to respond in kind. Wilson didn't outplay the Fever. She outlasted a whistle war tilted in her favor. Yet even with all of that stacked against them, Indiana refused to fold. Lexie Hull embodied that fight. She had no business even suiting up. Her back was wrecked from Game 1, the kind of injury that leaves most players in street clothes. But Hull strapped herself up, hit the court, and gave everything she had. The result? 5 three-pointers, tying a franchise playoff record. Every make was a declaration. Every time she picked herself off the floor, grimacing in pain and then splashed another jumper, she reminded the Aces that Indiana wasn't going away quietly. Hull wasn't the only one fighting through the storm. Aaliyah Boston turned in yet another double-double, but what the box score didn't show was the price she paid for every rebound. Forearms to the ribs, arms across her back, shoves under the hoop. It was a constant wrestling match and she never quit. Odyssey Sims poured in 18 points despite defenders hacking her on every drive, momentum stolen by whistles just as Indiana seemed ready to surge. And yet through it all, they kept clawing. The real dagger in Game 2 wasn't just the officiating, it was Las Vegas's adjustments. After Mitchell's explosion in Game 1, Becky Hammon made it her mission to erase her. Multiple defenders face-guarded her from the opening tip, bumping her like a pinball on every cut, denying her touches and blowing up screens before she could even curl. The result was her being held to 13 points, not because she suddenly forgot how to score, but because Vegas made her life a living hell physically. It was suffocating, but it came with bruises and whistles that tilted the game. Even Hammon herself admitted afterward that the game had gotten too physical. A telling comment considering her team benefited from the chaos. If the coach of the Aces is admitting things went too far, you know the spectacle was crossing the line. But here's where the series tilts again. Game 3 doesn't belong to Las Vegas. It belongs to Indianapolis. Gainbridge Fieldhouse is not just another arena, it's a cauldron. Every foul, every shove, every no call will be magnified by 17,000 fans screaming at the top of their lungs. When Lexie Hull gets hammered on a cut and nothing is called, the officials won't be able to pretend it didn't happen. When Boston gets hacked under the rim, the roar will demand acknowledgement. That's the power of home court, and Indiana knows it. Their fans don't just watch, they suffocate opponents with relentless energy. We've already seen double-digit deficits erased there because the Fever fed off that chaos. Now, after the injustice of Game 2, the crowd won't just be loud, they'll be rabid. And this isn't just about fans. It's about pride. Mitchell, embarrassed after being locked down, is too good to let it happen again. Boston, beaten up but unbroken, now has thousands behind her pushing her every possession. Hull, sore and taped up, will take the floor again with the crowd ready to explode for every jumper she hits. And Caitlin Clark, still sidelined, still watching, will lead with her voice, fueling her teammates from the bench, refusing to let them forget what they're fighting for. The Aces celebrated Game 2 like they had restored order, but the truth is they exposed their desperation. If you need 41 fouls, constant stoppages, and targeting injured players just to survive at home, what happens when the battleground shifts? What happens when the Fever come back to their house, fueled by anger, revenge, and a crowd ready to erupt? Game 3 isn't just another contest. It's the pivot point of the series. Indiana has already shown they can dominate Las Vegas in open play. They've already shown they can absorb foul-heavy chaos and still compete. Now they have the chance to take the fight back with their people behind them, their stars hungry, and the momentum waiting to swing their way. If Vegas thought Game 2 was survival, they haven't seen anything yet. Because when the Fever step onto their home court, it won't just be basketball, it will be a statement. And this time, the whistle won't be enough to save the Aces. If you believe in Indiana's fire, drop a "Let's go Fever" in the comments. This isn't over. It's just getting started.